Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo. It is Thursday. I am exhausted and I don't give a fuck. I'm doing the Gundam thing today, and we're going to continue doing exactly what we were doing before. This might be a longer one. It might be a shorter one. I don't care. What matters is that I sit down and start. And so here we go, starting. We left off after episode 8, The Dark Side of the Moon. And let me pull up the thing so that I don't forget to pull it up in a moment. The Dark Side of the Moon, and we're going to do the same thing that we were doing last time. So, sorry for anybody who's waiting for the Gundam episodes, but this is necessary for me. I really need to look at all of this stuff and figure it out from this perspective in order to move myself in the direction of watching the Gundam again. Because until I iron this shit out and put it together into my mind, I'm not going to be satisfied. And so I'm going to do it properly, and by properly I mean stupidly, and I mean failingly and flailingly and stumblingly. I'm going to stumble through, re-stumbling through all of this Zeta stuff in order to put it into my brain so that I can make it all clickety-clack. And maybe I'm already there, maybe I'm not, maybe I should just watch the damn thing, but I've committed to doing this, and I'm going to continue to commit to doing this, and I'm going to do it now and today. To be clear, I want to express something. Yesterday, I had a breakthrough, and the breakthrough was that I sat down last night after coming home from the gym while I wasn't sober, and while I was in the worst possible state to do it, and I recorded Mushoku Tensei, and it went fine. So I have no fucking excuse. So I'm tired this morning. Great. I feel not my best this morning. Great. I really don't want to record this morning. Great. Fuck me. I'm gonna do it anyway. The enemy doesn't arrive when you're ready for them. When you're already sitting in your mecha going, gosh, I hope that the enemy comes and arrives for me to go out and fight. The enemy arrives when you're in the middle of something else. When you're in the middle of a fight with your girlfriend, and you're moping and you're sad, and you don't feel like you're a full human being, and you're all tired and shit, and everything sucks, that's when the enemy arrives. And you'd better be ready to get into your goddamn mecha and go outside and fight the motherfuckers, otherwise you're gonna fucking die. And so that's what I'm doing today, is that despite my tiredness, despite my unwillingness to do this thing, I am going to do it because I must, because I have chosen that I will, because I dedicated myself to doing it, because I promised that I would do it, and so I will fulfill that promise, because I am the type of person that fulfills my own promises. And that's an Atomic Habits type of habit idea, is saying that I identify with the type of person who fulfills and stands up for his word. And my word is that I will do the Gundam. And so I will do the Gundam. Let's do the Gundam. We're going to do Reddit rewatch thread. I don't remember the order that I was doing these before. Reddit rewatch thread, comment section, and the overall summary synopsis from the thing. I think we'll do it in the order of synopsis of the thing, video comments, Reddit rewatch thread. If that's not the way that I did it before, ripperoni. It doesn't matter to me. So, Dark Side of the Moon is where we left off. And we had the McDaniel hamburger. Wong Li is determined to launch an attack. Karaba are supposed to help Quattro and Argama go back to space after entering the planet's gravity well. We're moving toward Jaburo. That's what's going on. Okay, great. And then he is inadvertently saved by a Haro toy that was laying abandoned in the colony ruins. And then we take the Haro with us as we escape back to Amman. Awesome. Next episode, A New Bond. Great. So there's this black bar on the left side. I'm not going to deal with it. It'll take too much time to mix and match it every time. So for my own purposes of sanity and not having to go through and edit every frame of this damned episode, I'm going to do it this way. A New Bond is the 9th episode of Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. Rikoa notices some unusual behavior and spies on Jaburo. Transport ships are leaving the base. She's held at gunpoint but rescued by Kai Shiden. Hey, Kai. Steady surveillance of Amman. Camus is working at Haro, and Emma scolds him for ignoring something. He insists that he doesn't belong to the military, but she ignores him. Kai tells Rikoa that Jaburo seems to be moving, says that she should use their equipment to establish contact with the Argama. Ah, the Earth Federation is underestimating the growth of the Aeug. This is a serious thing. Emma and Camus then arrive, and angry at his tardiness, Wong Li slaps and kicks Camus, deeming him a spoiled brat. Quattro signals Emma and Henkin not to intervene, and an altercation between Wong Li and Camus begins, but the latter's attempts to fight back are all proven futile, and he's beaten up even more for refusing to acknowledge that he is in the wrong and apologize. Yeah. And it's fucked up. Huh. He wakes up later. Quattro tells him that they have received orders to head for Granada. Camus snaps at him once again, saying that they were wrong for just standing there while he got beaten, and Quattro responds by saying that it was about time for the Argama crew to stop being so complacent with his selfish behavior. Camus insists that he's not going to participate, and Emma slaps him again and lectures him about his arrogance. The Hakushiki is coming. They're spotted by Kakrikon. By the order of the company's chairman, Melanie Hugh Carbine, they are going to offer their services to the Tetons without any charge. Quattro finally reaches Quattro and is irritated by how easy it was for Quattro to predict that he would come, as if he's always testing him, because he literally is, right? The Aeug must show that they are in charge so that they can have a proper command of their allies. Camus freezes for a second at the raw reality of a gunfight, because he's outside of the Gundam. The attack is launched. They seal off the spaceport. Is dearly killed. Saved at the last second by Camus. Kakrikon retreats. Came back with Quattro's permission after sensing that she was in peril. And Rakoa and Kai hide in the woods, finally waiting for a chance to infiltrate Jaburo. Awesome. Comments. Episode 9. Oh, and this is 9 and 10, I suppose. So... we'll still... I guess I'll go through both and then we'll do the comments. So let me do the rewatch thread for episode 9 instead. And then I'll do 10 synopsis, 10 rewatch, and then 9, 10 comments together. Shiden, Kai Shiden. No, really, he's freaking James Bond now. Fuck yeah. At least something good came out of him meeting Miharu. He became a spy. Kai Shiden, 0079, from Jaburo with love. That's very good. That's very good. Very good. Signature hand pose even 7 years later. Full Kai. Full Kai. Awesome. Big episode today. Camus getting his shit kicked in by Wong. For Camus, if I recall correctly, this is probably the first time he's ever lost in single hand-to-hand combat. I don't know about that. We had both Wong, Emma, and many others calling Camus out on his juvenile and arrogant attitude. If his last conversation with Henkin or how he obediently follows Char's lead is any indication, he's begun to change, if only slightly. So that's something interesting. I don't think this is the first time he's ever lost in hand-to-hand combat, but I think it's the first time he's ever taken a loss, you know? Because he runs away from his judo club or whatever. You don't get into judo without losing sometimes. You have to figure that out. But I guess we never see it. So it's the first time on screen that he's ever lost. And that indicates that he's not all powerful, all capable, all singing, all dancing, you know? Pretty interesting. Char is now actively taking up a mentor role for Camus and also doing so in a rather interesting manner. He leaves Wong to be the one to do the punishment, Emma to be the emotional and psychological support, while he himself molds Camus into a soldier. He's big brothering it, in a way. It's pretty interesting, yeah. That's a good point. Allowing Wong to dirty his hands with the corporal punishment so that Char doesn't really have to, mostly. Allowing Emma to be the friend and the ally and the nurturer in a lot of ways. And Rakoa, too, although Rakoa doesn't really want that role in most cases. Yeah. And then Char is there molding him into a soldier. That's a good depiction. Camus, how can you resort to violence without a reason? You are in no position to talk, Camus. Remember what happened on Green Noah? Having Haro in the cockpit seems like a safety hazard. I love this from Great Mr. L. Camus probably got that from his dad. His dad complained Camus was pointing a gun at him while he was busily shooting at Camus. Hey, how dare you? How dare you? I think the entire cast of Tengen Toppa and Lagan would like to have a word for that line. Good guy, Jared counter. Oh, because Thunder Scourge is out for the day. Kakrikon continues to show he trusts Jared to have his back, being quite surprised by his tardiness, caused by a suit malfunction, not by fault of Jared. He still possesses a fighting spirit and wants to avenge Lila, despite suffering defeat after defeat. Hasn't attacked anyone this episode. Probably had a nice lunch while he was waiting for his hijack to be fixed. Alone, of course, as Lila is dead. Thanks. He doesn't actually appear in this episode, so good guy. Fucking funny. Fucking funny. Okay, I think we'll stop here on that, and then we'll go to 10. Reunion. Repairs are being made to the damaged spaceport. Construction of the flying armor is underway. Completed a prototype version of a mobile suit of Camus' design, the Zeta Gundam. And they will send the Mark II toward the atmosphere using transforming parts of the Zeta Gundam. Okay. Kakrikon has gotten permission from Jamaicon to take off, provided that he tests the Marasai. Yeah, big boy with the shoulder pads. Cool. The Sichuan is still at Granada, but the ship has been painted with different colors. Large-scale assault. Hurry to the city's defense. What are petite mobiles? Oh, those little guys. Those things. I see. And Wong Li, using one armed with a hyper beam gun, intervenes and provides backup. Right. That was a weird moment because I was like, whoa, he's actually fighting for everybody, like literally fighting all by himself. And that's a moment where you gain a little bit of respect for Wong Li. City suffers massive damage by a merciless volley of missile blasts. Congratulated for his performance by Hankin and Emma, starting to mellow out to the crew, and because of it, he starts to gain a little bit more of their respect. So after getting the shit kicked out of him, he starts to open up a little bit and be a little bit less aggressive and hedgehoggy toward them, and it returns in respect and care toward him. A bizarre new model is attacking the helpless Temptation. We use the Hyakushiki's new weapon, the Mega Bazooka Launcher, and Kamyu supports him in the Temptation in battle. The enemy retreats. Is that the first time that we meet, is that where we're meeting, what's his face? Sirocco? I think it is, but I don't remember. It might be 4, actually. Shoot, I actually don't remember. That's interesting. So this is episode 10, right near the end. Ah, mysterious mobile suit idea thing. Oh shit, this isn't visible. Fuck. The horror. I'll just remove this so that you can see it. Oh, geez, that's in the wrong place. That's interesting. Oh, because it's... I understand. That's okay. I'm just going to leave it where it is because I'm not going to be doing this much. But this is Sirocco's machine, I believe. Yeah, it is. There he is. Bingo. Sirocco in his specialty device machine. So I was just checking, making sure that that is who I think it is and how I think it plays out. So the new mobile suit that comes and attacks is Scirocco. They leave their shuttle behind and board the Argama. Bright and Quattro shake hands finally, and we introduce Bright to Kamyu. Fayuri suddenly jumps into Kamyu's arms, tells him that Bast took her mother and father as prisoners just because of her relationship with him, and that Bright rescued her. Kamyu's hatred toward the Tetons only deepens. Very good. And then on to episode 10, rewatch thread. Didn't notice Wong was the one who ends up saving Kamyu first time around. Even changes my opinion about him, where I thought he was just a bureaucrat with no spine for actual combat. Yeah. It does change it. Kamyu's trying to fix Haro. The return of Fa and Bright, whom we haven't seen in several episodes. The Argama comes to the rescue of Bright's ship, which is probably fleeing from something. Bascom has kidnapped Fa's parents. This naturally angers Kamyu. Seeing Char and Bright shake hands was a surreal experience, truly. I remember that. The mecha fight on the moon was awesome. Okay. Ooh, mysterious man with long black hair. It's purple hair. And his name is Karl Schubaltz, or Spider if you prefer. Sometimes goes by Jonathan Love. What? That's from Zoids. So that's a character alike. Sometimes goes by Jonathan Love. Leorio Paladinite and Proto-Man. So he's a voice actor. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Or Poppy. Jaburo is no longer the command center, so they have a decent chance of taking it, but it would be practically worthless. The Argama looks a little bit like White Base. Hey, weird. Weird about that. That's strange, isn't it? Okay, cool. Then we'll call that good here. And then for 9 and 10, because they were together, let's read the comments on my actual video. Starting with Jelcock. Sorry, Jalakok Respawn. In regards to Quattro saying to Kamyu, if you don't want to get hit, eliminate your mistakes, and that being something that the creators think is right or cool shouldn't be taken at face value, because I got kind of like, I don't like that when I was reacting to it. Later on in the same episode, Kamyu can feel that Quattro enjoys killing people. He probably isn't the best person to have as a role model without even taking into consideration all the heinous stuff he did in the one-year war, like sending his allies to their death for being inconveniences. I'd say this is more of a reminder of that. Also, to contrast the White Base, right, he's not a pure hero. Char's a villain. He's a hero villain. He's an anti-hero. He doesn't care. He's got his own real human purposes in a lot of ways, and they aren't necessarily aligned with grand morality. Yeah. Also, to contrast the White Base and the Argama, showing how they operate now before Bright comes on board. Unlike Amuro and White Base, which was staffed but with a lot of his neighbors and other civilians who are the same age as him, Camus has no peers on Argama until Fa joins in episode 10. He's on a military ship filled with adult soldiers who happened to pick him up by chance. Even Camus' dead mother substitute Rekoa isn't there anymore. I think the Wong Li beatdown is a clear point of comparison to the Bright slap. In both cases, a superior uses violence to make the pilot follow orders. However, Amuro was the only person who could pilot the Gundam, and he got slapped for refusing to go and fight when the White Base was in danger. Shinji getting the robot, right? Whereas Wong Li beats Camus unconscious for being late for a meeting, and everyone else, including Emma, watches. Similar to how the Titans officers beat up Bright in episode 2 while Emma just watched. This is also the same episode where we find out that both the Titans and the Aeug are getting their weapons from the same people, right? In regards to taking what characters say at face value, there is only one person who you can trust to say what the creators actually think about the events of the episode in this or in any Tomino show, and that is the narrator. For example, there is an anime made by Tomino where the character who has the most dialogue speaks truthfully only once, but there is no internal monologue or narrator to tell you when they are lying and when they aren't. You just have to intuit it by fully unraveling and understanding the characters by yourself. This sort of storytelling can obviously lead to misinterpretations, especially without rewatches, but Tomino has enough faith, perhaps mistakenly, in his audience to have them meet him halfway. Some of his more recent works are more complicated than Zeta and don't have even half the exposition that Zeta has. It's also a clear difference between mediums, since Tomino always shows his characters' thoughts and comments on them as the narrator in his novels without leaving anything to the imagination, but almost never does so in his anime. I suppose because Tomino believes to some extent that he can get it across visually, but there is a risk to that, as you've expressed, which is that, well, what if the people just don't get what you're putting down, Tomino? And that becomes a bit of a problem, right? Because then it just becomes a problem. Camus' problem remembering things is probably due to head injuries caused by all those slaps. Yeah, that would do it. I like how Kai was just wandering around in a jungle sporting a white suit. Yeah, didn't get eaten by a puma. GK. Like the other comment analyzed in detail, the one up above. It's a Tomino show, and I'm not saying that because lines and actions are thrown all over the place and out of nowhere in these eps. Beyond the politics and ideology, he writes stories about how you shouldn't trust the viewpoints of adults, what they say or what they claim to believe, even the ones on the good side, even Char and Bright. Our teen protagonist is forced to exist within their adult world, and their words and actions won't necessarily be commented as, wow, that is the wrong way of doing things by some bystander. Char is Char, an adult that can often be hypocritical, emotional, cynical, manipulative, or inconsistent in his beliefs and rhetoric. One that grew up through fucked up situations and also believes some fucked up things. Yeah, a murderer, multiple times over. The villain of the first series. The continuous hound of Amuro Ray. So the stuff he says aren't, a lot of the time, meant to be something the creators believe or something that should be passed on to Camus from this role model or mentor. It's just something that a guy like Char could say that probably doesn't hold when scrutinized or is even consistent with the other things he has said or done. And yeah, the behaviors and declarations adults make may be hilariously over the top and out of nowhere sometimes in Tomino anime, and the presentation may not focus on doing the, here, look, this behavior is bad and wrong at all. It can make the show walk a fine line between endearing and messy for viewers, with characters just doing and saying messy and cynical stuff that are presented as in the context of the anime. Presented as is in the context of the anime without staying with them for very long. It may fit with how unparsable and inhospitable the world of adults can be from a child's POV, especially a potentially neurodivergent child, which to some extent both of Tomino's main characters that I've been associated with, Amuro and Camus, are semi-neurodivergent, like to some extent. They use the actual term autistic for them, but I don't think that's what they actually mean, and we've been through that. But different from the norm, having trouble handling with society and stuff, outcast a little bit. Yeah, those characters fit that, absolutely. Tomino is usually of a very neutral camera and presentation approach for a lot of stuff, so it's hard to guess, and I have to be aware of that, because it's not necessarily prescriptive. For sure, sometimes Tomino does buy the BS his characters say, and the problematic stuff comes from within him, and we see that in some parts of things that you sent me, GK, of the reasoning behind the reasons why women should be the certain way. Like, Tomino obviously believes in some of that and wants to express it in certain ways, and some of it might be right and some of it might be wrong, and we parsed through a lot of that, and it was like, well, I don't know, man, that's some complicated juju that you're talking about. I don't know how true it is. And that seems about right. But also, he again and again has said in interviews that pretty much, I'm an old-ass man and you shouldn't trust me either, and he feels that's a core way of how he would want people to engage with his stuff. I don't know why adults are the enemy in so many of Tomino's anime, and I don't want to slip into pure determinism, but I think maybe if I was born in Japan in November 1941, I would grow up thinking that adults were the enemy. And that makes perfect sense. Or if you were born into Germany in the 40s or the 30s, or the 10s or the teens. Or if you were born into vitriolic and destructive times in any nation, you might believe that the forebears, the ones who set things up to be this way, are an enemy that needs to be torn down. And reconciling that with the fact that tradition has value might be the kind of thing that you would write into your stories as you attempt to explore those questions in your own life. And that's the kind of thing that people do, and it's the kind of thing that I have to make sure that I'm aware that Tomino might be doing. S. Alam, the comments on these episodes are really helpful. Call me stupid, but I do have trouble keeping notes of war dramas with many sides and characters. I could follow the OG Gundam just fine, but this time I can keep up with most of it except the plot. So yeah, the help is appreciated, and any more spoiler-free resources are too. Well, this is only 7 months too late, but the rewatch threads seem really good for that, and also the synopses seem really good to that. Angel James. When Camus is being beat into unconsciousness, he says, "You're the same!" I've previously mentioned that we've seen Federation and Tetons uniforms on board the Argama, and we see Federation soldiers helping Ayug troops capture the ship. At their very core, Ayug is the same as the Tetons, and this scene where Camus is violently beat is meant to emphasize this, because the last time we saw Camus being brutalized this badly was in episode 1 when he was being interrogated by the Tetons on Green Noah. These are not two disparate groups. This is a civil war between two factions of the Federation military. Yep. One of which is bigoted, and the other decided that the best solution to dealing with bigots is violence. And also, the heavy use of corporal punishment was a Japanese cultural thing in the period. In the military, it was common for superiors to slap or worse subordinates that they considered to be undisciplined. A very brutal during the World War II era, but even as late as the 80s, it was part of military culture. This is, of course, faded out in most Western armies. The use of facial slaps for discipline was also employed by coaches in Japanese professional sports during the period Gundam Zeta was made, and it remains an occasional issue to this day. There have been some Olympic scandals about this. Interesting. The man in the mobile armor was bad and strong. Yes, he was. Very interesting. And El Schnitzer, of course, with great comment once again. Thank you, El. As always, I appreciate your fucking insanity. Okay, that's 9 and 10. 11, here we go. Entering the atmosphere. Paptimus Sirocco returns the temptation. Oh, attacks the temptation, returns to the Earth Federation's ship. Runs the ship towards Earth's orbit. Gives the captain 2 hours and oversees the reloading of his mobile armor, the Masala, as he waits. Fa is trying to cooperate and help. Talks about Bright's situation. Camus coldly brushes her off, making her upset because he's an ass. Discuss the battle plans, intercept the fleet right before they enter the atmosphere. They are confident. They talk about Bright's family. Bright has talked of his wife, Mirai Yashima. Hell yeah. Fa appears and Emma tries to talk with her about Camus, but she just asks her to leave her alone. Sirocco is being arrogant, but he actually has it earned. It's actually just competence, not arrogance, which is fascinating. Balut capsules. Asks Quattro to rescue his family if they're still in Jaburo. A fiery argument with Camus and Fa. Feels angry and guilty about Fa's parents. Cannot reach him. She runs away. Emma acknowledges that the purpose of the Tetons organization isn't just to track down remnants of the Zabi clan. It's more than that. A different unit approaches. They're confident if they can get 2/3 of their forces, they can take over the base. Emma continues to ignore orders to come back, and so Bright has to lower the ship's altitude to retrieve her, but everyone is furious. She almost got everybody killed. Everyone activates their balut, except for Jared and Kakrikon, who are diving as fast as they can. Jared finally relents and activates his, but Kakrikon still moves forward while the Gundam Mark II's flying armor, the Wave Rider, allows Camus to safely attack while being protected from the heat. But the Balut has an automatic activation system, so he ends up completely vulnerable in the midst of the fight, and Kamyu destroys the Balut with a single shot, and Kakrikon's Marasai is engulfed in flames. Amelia, Kakrikon's significant one, is all he can think about at his final moments. Deceased, Kakrikon Kakuler. See, that's like a Toriyama level name, right? I didn't realize that his last name was Kakuler. Like, literally cooler. Very funny. Okay. 11. Oh, I did 11 and 12. Okay, so I did all these doubles. Darn. Great, so we'll do the Reddit for 11. Captain Brighto-san. Hey. Kamyu hopefully won't be treating that girl like Amuro treated Frau for the most of the show. She understands the feelings of Pilot and why Kamyu is acting spoiled. She's misunderstanding quite a bit. He was just being a brat. Their fight scene in the room was really well done. The girl is already better than Frau. She spoke her mind. I hope their relationship improves. Yay! Brighto-san made it. I want to see Mirai and the kids. Yay! Bright doesn't kick her out. Is it because he remembers Frau and thinks she might be useful? I don't know. And then the rest of the English here is, ugh. I just want insights. Bright is back in command, baby. Bright and Mirai are married. They have kids. Yes! It's a Transformer. Henshin. If we're dealing with Transformers now, we're in trouble. Emma acted really odd this fight. She was weirdly out of character. Camille's the one who disobeys orders, not her. She's a person. If anyone on the Argama needs to slap, it's Kamyu. That'll make him stop being a brat. It worked on Amuro. Interesting, because it doesn't work on Kamyu super well. It worked from Wong Li. Kakrikon died? No, he and Jared made such a fantastic team. Well, welcome to life is Jared. Anybody you're friends with just dies, man. Fucking Jared. Well, Kakrikon is the one that goes down, rip. Back in the captain's chair. Good guy Jared counter assures Kakrikon that they're going to succeed, easing his friend's worries. Playfully jests around with his friend and seems happy that his friend has a girl waiting for him back on Earth. Helps test the re-entry chutes, which Kakrikon displayed some concern over. Tries to ease his friend's worries as they go into battle, seeing it as an opportunity and not a drawback that they will be close to gravity. Expresses extreme concern when he gets too close to Earth. Is the one to say that they need to give up due to the danger this time, and places value over value of his living friend's life over his own revenge. Also showing that he has matured past his previously more rational friend. Cries out when he sees his friend die an agonizing death because of Kamyu, who in some versions cuts Kakrikon's re-entry chute and in others deliberately shoots it like a psychopath. In some versions. Interesting. Blames himself for not helping Kakrikon in his desperate attack, feeling guilty for not having helped him despite the danger. Promises to avenge his longtime friend, obviously hurt by losing him. And once again, good guy Jared is made to suffer because of Kamyu. Dumb Kakrikon, you're usually a smart one. Now Jared has to avenge you and Lila, and Amelia won't get to see you back on Earth. The part that hurts the most. Watch you crawl. Yep, very good. Okay, and we'll stop there. And that's 11, and then on to 12. The Winds of Jaburo. Keep shooting down as much of the enemy forces as we can. Visibly stressed, however, deeming such one-sided combat as unfair. It's not fun to shoot fish in a barrel, right? Imprisoned along with Kai Shiden. Rikoa regrets having failed to make contact. Kai is determined to escape. Afraid that the Aegu themselves could easily destroy the building they're in by accident. A large-scale combat is taking place at the door. Kamyu goes forward, blazing through all the incoming assaults. I think what we'll do is we'll go through like leaving Jaburo, and leaving Earth again, and that probably is where we'll arc for this episode. The horrors of war loom in, facing the overall destruction of allies and foes and the death of innocent animals nearby, right? That scene where the burgeoning flames overtake the forest and the wildlife. Escapes the Marasai once again, finally penetrate Jaburo, along with their main forces, but notice that their retaliation is not what they would expect. It seems almost abandoned. They're all in the midst of moving out with the help of Garuda-class transport planes. Yep. Is sure that they've walked into a trap, but they've gotten no word from Rikoa, so they can't be sure of what's truly happening. They reach Area 2. Kamyu has a vision. They are then attacked by Jared. He fights the Hyakushiki and is left surprised by the man's piloting skills. I remember that. He's so focused on Kamyu that he doesn't even realize that, like, oh, this guy's a threat too, because that's fucking Char, and he doesn't know it. Interrogating Jaburo's prisoners. And that's the moment where we're interrogating them, and we're like, hey, do you really care about staying here? You're gonna get nuked by your own people, motherfuckers. A nuke is about to explode beneath it, and they have almost no time, and it cannot be disarmed, so it's all just fucked. Jared is blinded by revenge and refuses to concede and keeps chasing Kamyu throughout Joburo's caves. He only stops when his Marasai is finally destroyed, but he is able to eject the exploding mobile suit in time, and he spots several wounded attempting to start a car, and he does help them out. Right. But whether he helps them out in that circumstance for his own purposes or because he's a good guy, unknown. Resume the search. Seizes 2 ships and orders the immediate evacuation. So the whereabouts of the wife and children, Mirai, are unknown. Quattro goes back to Joburo, assuming that Kamyu is still looking for Rakoa. There isn't enough room. They all know that there isn't enough room for everyone. Kamyu finally locates Rakoa, rescues her along with Kai from their prison cell. Quattro arrives and the 4 of them leave Joburo. Jared, meanwhile, fights through a crowd of desperate Federation personnel at the hangar and narrowly manages to board the last of the shuttles with the help of a mysterious woman, Mauer. Enemy hijacks in hiding give chase to both Garuda ships, deeming Gelidy's warnings of the nukes as mere bluffs, but Rakoa, Kai, Kamyu, and Quattro escape moments before the Earth's Federation's base, and the hijacks get completely obliterated by the nuclear blast. After the explosion, an allied ship, the Valkyrie, approaches the Garuda. The pilot identifies himself as Hayato Kobayashi of Karawa. Characters introduced: Jiddly and Mauer Pharaoh. Jiddly, Zeta Gundam. Oh, it's that guy. Okay. I don't remember him at all, and I don't think he matters much. Great. So that's 11 and 12. Rewatch thread for 12. I really just want to find the good guy Jared on this one because I know that there are some important ones. I'd like to see how those get placed. Oh, this looks good. On today's episode, the Federation has abandoned its military HQ, which must have been what Rakoa and Kai found out and were unable to tell the AUG. So we launch our ambitious attack on an area they were planning to leave anyways. Good planning, guys. If they had this much trouble when Joburo was nearly abandoned, they would have been destroyed if it was better staffed. Yep. The new type abilities come in handy. Kai also looks like he sees right through Char's disguise. I wonder if anyone is honestly fooled by that paper-thin disguise, but nobody's seen him. Most of them haven't ever actually seen him. They might be suspicious, but how would they know? Jared seems to be getting more and more obsessed with beating the Gundam Mark II. Yep, a little bit like White Whale-y. A little bit White Whale-y. A little bit Ahab-ish, right? Like, has to go after it. Nukes for when you absolutely have to ensure that everything is dead. Seems a bit excessive. But then again, this is the Federation military. Bad decisions are almost a given. Hayato! And he's on the side of the AUG. At the rate we're seeing old characters, it'll be a white base reunion before long. A blue-haired woman, I wonder who she is. Kamyu can be brutal. He shot at that mobile suit's parachute thing and had it burn up in the atmosphere. And it's curious to know whether he did it intentionally, because apparently there are multiple versions. Also, I love how Kamyu continues to blame the death of every person he shoots on them for putting up a fight. Take some responsibility for your actions, man. You play a part in shooting them. Getting it from his dad again. It's a good idea. And Char is right. Kamyu has been behaving much better since Wong Li corrected him. Yeah, I hate it. Seems like they already left. Love that smirk when he hears Hayato's name, having just rescued Kai a bit earlier and with Bright commanding the Argama. It must be odd to suddenly find yourself on the same side as so much of the White Base crew when he fought them for such a long time during the 1-year war. Well, I don't know if it's odd. I think Char wants it. Because we've talked about this before, that Char is trying to regenerate some of the elements of White Base. As though he wants to create this perfect storm in order to generate the perfect fighter or somebody to take the place of Amuro in the future. It's like he's really consciously trying to generate that and create it. But I don't know. Good guy Jared counter. We've hit the 50 milestone of good guy Jared moments. Wants to protect the Earth from space invaders since they've done such bad things in the past. Outraged that his allies are abandoning their base. Despite evacuation, he stays to fight both out of duty and an underlying desire to avenge his loved ones. Yeah, and maybe too much. Attacks Kamyu with the explicit intention of avenging Lila. Yeah, but revenge isn't great. Thinks that if Kakrikon were there, he would be better off, showing just how much he is missing his close friend. And helps allies pick up a jeep and helps them evacuate, assuring them that there is plenty of room, showing selflessness. Someone very nice saved Jared. Such a good woman. I look forward to seeing Mauer her. More her. Ha ha ha. Ha. I'd like Garma to come back since he was well-meaning and got screwed over by Char, basically destroying Zeon's future since Garma was beloved by his people. Having an aged Garma, like in Giran's Greed, I don't know, it must be a movie, could have led to a better future for the UC universe than how Zeon turned out. I think between the AUG and a Garma-led Zeon, we could have had a happier turn of events. Well, but you never know how corrupt they would have gotten. Typical Jared pulling both a good guy and a scumbag moment in one episode. Yeah. If this anime came out today, then this would be the end of the first season. Yep. And Kamyu is certainly extremely annoying this episode. He repeatedly says how they wouldn't die if they wouldn't attack him, yet he is to blame for killing them. So that internal cognitive dissonance. How dare you? This is all your fault. Blam, 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 blam. Just got a victim blame. Interesting. That's an interesting way to frame it, yeah. Okay, so that's 11 and 12, and now we go to the comments for 11 and 12. Darth Conan's. I've got to say that I appreciate your insight and understanding when it comes to certain behaviors from teenage characters. I've seen plenty of people online just talk about how annoying or something like Amuro's reluctance and whining was during Mobile Suit Gundam, or how Kamyu is surly and uncooperative or whatever in Zeta, and I think it's easy to forget that these are kids, even though their youth is also considered a central theme of these stories. A 17-year-old boy is sometimes going to be huffy with his kind of sort of girlfriend, especially if he's doing stuff he's not enthusiastic about in the first place. He's going to be awkward around older women. He's not going to be able to express himself well, etc. In that regard, I think a lot of the writing for the younger characters is actually really good and almost endearing in a way, and I'm glad you can recognize it for what it is rather than just expressing annoyance like so many others. You're welcome. I hope that I can do this as well as possible. I think it comes from the sort of having the Simone in my head and having the Shinji in my head and other iterations of these characters so that I see the reflections of that, you know? This is a cool comment about the balut system. Very cool. I really like Apolly. Me too. We see a new thing for Kamyu, his distaste for killing. He's willing to defend himself, but these soldiers rushing to defend a base that's being evacuated with 7 to 8-year-old tech are, in Kamyu's mind, throwing their lives away, and he doesn't want to have to kill them, and he's angry that they are deciding to die on this hill. Yeah. A complete disaster for the AUG in every way. Yep. Their 80 mobile suits are completely whittled away by the 8-year-old equipment used by the Jaburo Defense Force. Let me repeat that. 80 mobile suits, but by the end of episode 12, all of AUG's forces are able to fit in 2 Garda-class planes, with enough space for all the prisoners they decided to take. Yep. Craig Starbird. Jared is happy to help the soldiers when it gets him something, a ride to escape the base on, but as soon as being helpful would slow him down, he cuts those soldiers loose and says, "Your strength is the only thing that will prevent death," only to be immediately undercut by his survival only happening because someone else saved him. Just like with Lila in space, he's got the cutthroat mentality, but he isn't competent enough to actually follow through on his own words. He didn't have to help them, but I will agree that it's really comical hearing him say the survival mantra, but then about using his own strength. But using his own strength, he was able to punch his way to the front of the line to be saved, proving him right. But then he wasn't. He was proved wrong because he needed the girl to reach out and pull him up. So it's a mix and a mash. It's all confused. And of course, thank you, El Schnitzer, for the gooder comment. Very good. Onward. I think it's 13-14 next. Yep. Great. 13, shuttle launch. Jamatov Hyman journeys to space after learning of the AUG's invasion of Jaburo in order to observe grips. Amuro Ray flies a replica plane, has visits Frau Bo, now Frau Kobayashi, hey, along with Katz, Let's, and Kika, all growing up. They have a casual chat before Amuro is asked what is happening at Jaburo. He passes a note to Frau and the teens, who find out that all the employees around them are, in fact, Earth's Federation soldiers, keeping an eye on Amuro, so he's stuck. Katz accuses Amuro of being a coward for refusing to take part in the war, and they have an argument. Tells Amuro that she plans to move to Japan with the kids. Meanwhile, Hayato is escorting the Audhumla, which is under Karaba's control. Informs Quattro that because they allowed the guard to land, Karab will be forced to abandon the airport soon and move someplace else. He asks them to arrange a pilot in the space shuttle they plan to use to send the AU pilots back to space, where they are to rendezvous with the Argama. As Hayato oversees the shuttle launch, he is informed that Oakland's new type lab is under the control of the Titans. A message from Kai arrives warning him that Quattro is likely Char, so he refuses to work with him, planning to keep gathering information on his own. And Quattro receives a coded message from the Argama. The ship is under enemy fire, but they will make it to the rendezvous point anyway. They have very little time, however, so Quattro assumes control of the operation. 2 space shuttles be launched at the same time, one for pilots, one for mobile suits, so they don't fall into the enemy's hands. Kamyu helps loading the mobile suits, shows Kai's letter to Quattro, but he tells him that the letter's content has nothing to do with him. Kamyu overhears the conversation and demands that Quattro tell them the truth, but Quattro insists that he has nothing more than Lieutenant Quattro Bagina, and Kamyu punches him. A new mobile suit squad appears, the Buran Platoon. They destroy one of the 2 shuttles, forcing Kamyu, Quattro, and Roberto to defend them. Quattro is having trouble giving chase to the Ashamar, right? transforms into a mobile suit. While fighting valiantly, Roberto is killed. The remaining shuttle takes off, but the flying enemy gives chase. By combining their jumping power, Camus and Quattro manage to defend the space shuttle, escape on one of the two Garuda ships, but are forced to leave behind the other one. The Kennedy Airport and the Sidori are now under control of the Earth Federation. The Audhumla is headed toward Hickory, since Karaba have close comrades close to Vandenberg. In space, the shuttle being operated by Apolli reaches the Argama. And with the end of the operation, the world now knows that the Earth Federation forces has been divided into two factions that have begun fighting each other, and it is truly and fully a civil war now. Very good, very cool. Frau married Hayato and not Amuro? Didn't see that coming. Nope, I 100% did. I mean, we had it at the end. It's Fraubo and the White-Based Kids. They've grown up in their early teens or nearly there. Seems to have married Hayato. Makes sense that she would adopt the kids. Yep. Cool mansion. Too bad it's a prison. Hayato is part of an Earth-based resistance, the Karaba. The Karaba. A note saying Quattro is Char. Thought Kai figured it out. Char dodges the question, and even Camus seems to figure it out. And at this point, I gotta say, at this point, I'm a little bit unclear, because we get that note from Kai, and it's like, okay, it seems, because Camus demands the truth be told, and some other things, it seems like everybody becomes immediately aware that Char is Quattro. And then from this point, there are multiple instances where people are like, who's Quattro? And I don't fucking get it. I don't get it, because it's been right there in their faces. It's been like, Char is Quattro. Quattro is Char. They've got the note. Camus punches him for the reason that he doesn't tell him about it. And so, like, where's the confusion now? Does everybody know that he's Char is Quattro is Char is the Red Comet, or does nobody know? I don't know. I'm genuinely confused. I don't think there's any good guy Jared in this one. Katz looks up to Amuro like he was a hero and is now disappointed by the fact that Amuro seems to be relaxing while everyone else, including his adopted father, is fighting against the Tetons. Hayato, Kai, and Camus knowing that Quattro is in fact Char Aznable. Also, they make it a point that Char is being a coward and running away from responsibility when he takes up a false name like Quattro, when instead, under the name Char, he could very well be leading the AUG instead of simply being a pilot of a mobile suit. His name still holds weight, and this gives us some insight into his character, and it seems quite important to pay attention to. Yeah. Okay. That's 13. And we go to 14. Amuro flies again. Rosa Mia Badam. I forget what she... Oh, right. Purple hair lady. Reinforcements. Amuro is finally convinced to join the war and escape along with Katz by hijacking a military aircraft. They head to Kennedy, where they hope to team up with Karaba. Quattro refuses to follow Quattro's orders, so Camus launches and faces Rosa Mia directly. Another transforming mobile suit. Quattro rescues him, and Rosa Mia must leave. Hayato is angry that Camus ignored direct orders. Camus admits his mistake, and Quattro verifies his claims that they were facing a dangerous enemy. That's right. This is a moment of huge growth, is that we get the person in power, just like Wang Li was, being like, damn it, Camus, you didn't follow orders. And Camus is like, you're right, I'm so sorry, but I had to do it because it was necessary. And then he gets backed up by Quattro and doesn't get beaten up, which is a huge development for the characters. She at least managed to delay them, so they have a second chance. Wonder if they've managed to transform her into a cyber new type. Launches a second attack, defends the ship, not noticing that Amuro and Katz approach in the stolen military freighter. Amuro plans to ram the plane into an enemy suit and orders Katz to escape in a Homo Avis. Amuro's charge catches everyone completely by surprise, and they're forced to retreat. Amuro escapes in a parachute and is rescued midair by Camus, and that's where we have the awesome moment where one person in the mecha is looking at the other, and it's like father and son rescuing father and son in lineage and stuff. Insanity. While an astonished Quattro watches, both Amuro Ray and Char Aznable sense each other telepathically. Bingo. That's Char. No doubt about it. That's Amuro. Now Kith. Now Kith. There is a mistake in the letter. It should say Captain Quattro. He is a Chad, not a Char. Very good. One interpretation of that Kamyu and Quattro punch is that Kamyu sees Quattro as running away from his responsibility as Char Aznable. Up to this point, Kamyu has been thrust into the role of pilot because of his new type capabilities, regardless of his actual wishes. As soon as Quattro realized Camille's potential, Quattro began to impress on Kamyu just how important using that potential for the sake of the AU is, even if Kamyu has to discard his own feelings on the matter to do it. In the same way, Kai and Hayato recognize that Char has the capability to be a proper leader for the future of the EFF, but Char refuses to accept that responsibility for his capability and hides behind the name Quattro. To Kamyu, it is hypocritical that Quattro would force him to be a pilot, but then would run away from his own responsibility, leading Kamyu to try and correct Quattro's way of thinking, i.e. to force him to take the role others expect of him regardless of his own feelings on the matter, the same as Kamyu, and correct him in the same physical way, right? But there's an arrogance in that, and it's like, oh, I child, have understood the problem with myself, therefore I can extrapolate that problem and place it onto the father character, this older brother character, and I can fix him the same way. And it's like, maybe you can, and maybe Char's a couple layers deeper into Problem Town, and maybe you don't understand where his problems actually come from. But maybe you do, and maybe Char needs to listen to you, and it's both. It's both. You might have noticed that the word used for Jellicock, you might have noticed that the word used for cyber new types is not Saiba new Taipu, but Kyoka Ningen, literally enhanced human. I did not notice. Cyber new type is the official English translation, but they aren't called new types in Japanese. They're enhanced humans. They're cyborgs. New types aren't psychics, supermen, or gods, so the definition of what a true new type is definitely something to keep in mind. I'm aware of this. However, they're also psychics or supermen or gods, and so it's very ethereally confusing because it is in no way clear at all. In fact, that's the intent, right? In the same way that, like, as far as I can tell, the Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. The new type that can be described is not the true new type. Especially since Zeonzum Daikun, Char's father, was the one who created the idea of an evolved humanity called new types, but he died years before people started developing supernatural powers during the 1 Year War. Well, they literally are Supermen in the Ubermensch sense, right? They're unified entities that have empathy, is what they really are. But they also have psychic fucking abilities. They can literally sense each other. Literally. They literally have woobity powers. So I don't get where all the fucking people, because a lot of people come in and they say, like, oh, you don't get it. They say over and over that new types aren't psychics. It's like, okay, I do get it. They say it over and over. I'm not fully blind. But they have psychic fucking powers. So you telling me that they don't have psychic fucking powers doesn't work. Because they have fucking psychic powers. They sense each other through time and space. How? Why? I don't know. But he died years before people started developing supernatural powers during the 1 Year War. Well, it's like Nietzsche writing about the Ubermensch, and then that being co-opted in futures. But, like, the true Ubermensch that Nietzsche was talking about is a modern phenomenon, and it hasn't existed yet. The greater man is man and technology fused in a lot of ways, and there are multiple iterations of it. It's like Daikun Nietzsche is dead, right? He's gone, and so that new type name is being retroactively placed on these people with special powers, so it might be inaccurate. So whether the new types that we've seen in Gundam correlate with what Daikun envisioned them being is unknown. And what might help or further confuse things is that Tomino also talks about new types in the real world to this day, and when he does, he's not talking about people with superpowers either. Right, he's talking about integrated humans, and he can't elaborate on it because he's not a fucking psychiatrist. He's not a neurobiologist. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Tomino's not a science man, right? He's an art man. So it doesn't... He's also not a philosopher, effectively, and he doesn't have the grounding in psychology or philosophy. And so his definitions make no fucking sense and end up being utterly confusing. And because they make no sense, people are able to put their impressions upon them and to see what they need to see in those things, regardless of what they actually think of it as or believe of it as, which is cool and useful. But it's also absolutely infuriating because it says A is A and then it says A is not A in the same fucking sentence. It says 1 + 1 is 4. It's like, fucking no it isn't. You just set up the rules for the math and then you broke them. Tomino does this constantly throughout the show and it's absolutely infuriating. And then people come in and they comment on it and they're like, nah, dude, you just don't get it. New types aren't psychics. They're just not. It's not the way that it works. And then we watch them have psychic powers, and it doesn't make sense. Something missing. Clickety clack. Something's missing. And it could be in me. I might be the one missing something. That's totally viable and totally fair. But what the fuck? I laughed out loud that T almost immediately referred to Rosamiya as an artificial new type after the conversation with Baran. That and the literal enhanced or strengthened human were the accepted English fandom terms for what she is, up until Tomino himself coined the term Saiba new typeu for the official English release of Zeta. Yeah, that's right. You can blame Tomino himself if you don't care for that term. A great little moment from the commentary. Yep, great. Fucking great. Imagine if Quattro wasn't actually Char. Yep. 15. Katz's sortie. Repairs the Ashimar. Rosamiya comes in, bothers Baran with unstable personality quirks that make him wonder if these are side effects from the experimental nature of the cyber new types, the artificial new types. Kyoka Ningen. Friendly conversation between Amuro and Hayato. Suggests that Hayato wants him to get used to combat once more. Quattro requests their presence. Discuss Hickory. Amuro is finally left alone with Char, who tells him that Amuro's currently lacking spirit serves only to help the Tetons. Even Camus is let down by Amuro's depressing attitude and runs off as they talk. A biplane arrives, and Beltorchica Irma Hari arrives, a messenger from Hickory. Beltorchica is glad that they all look and act like normal people instead of soldiers bloodthirsty for war, but senses something different in Quattro before being assured by Amuro that this is not the case. But is it? Rosamiya leaves the Sidori in a reckless attack as we fly over San Francisco. Katz launches against his better judgment in the Mark II to sortie against the Gaplant. Beltorchica is shocked to sense an immense fear of fighting emanating from Amuro, who can do nothing but watch as Camus launches in Apolli's Rick Diaz. And Amuro is not just restrained, but bound and terrified. Very good. Yeah, very important. And Beltorchica, the woman who comes in, is the one who recognizes that. Yeah. As Katz fails to properly defend himself, she correctly assumes that it must be a different pilot. The Hakushiki and the DS intervene, and Katz manages to hit the Gaplant by sensing where she would appear, giving Camus the chance to strike the mobile suit down, but she manages to eject in time. And that's our first real hint that Katz is potentially new type E2, and it's one of those things where it's like, what the fuck does that even mean? He was able to predict where she was via some kind of power that isn't attributable to his general, obvious, natural senses, which is to say that he's fucking psychic, right? Yes. Or can see the future or something, right? Yes. And then people come in and they say they're not fucking psychics and they're not different from normal people. The fuck are you on about? What are you on about? I don't get it. I'm not saying you're wrong, I just don't get it. I'd like to get it. Baran concludes that the over-aggressiveness is what led to the defeat, and wonders if Saiba new typos can really be of any use. They violently reprimand Katz for his actions, just like Camus has been reprimanded before. Amuro leaves the hangar, and Char wonders when Amuro will go back to being his usual self. Good. If it wasn't obvious that Camus had undergone some pretty big character development and growth, all you have to do is compare him to Katz. Katz is quite reminiscent of what Camus was like early on in the series, though a bit less angsty. Still, Camus is seen acting like the more mature and reasonable person now, gone from little brother to big brother in a lot of ways. A pretty huge step up from his teenage angst hitting people past. In this episode, we see Katz do something incredibly stupid, even infuriating. Something to again keep in mind, however, is that Katz views Amuro and the Gundam as heroes and heroic from his time in White Base. Understanding what inspires him, what drives him, he looks as if he wants to emulate and be that hero he looked up to. In essence, Katz wants to be the heroic Gundam MS pilot that Amuro was, just based off of his actions this episode as well as previous dialogue. Yep. Also, cyber new types are a wee bit cuckoo. And of course, the origin of the best response, I came here to laugh at you. Yes, very good. So, I think Katz fared slightly better than Sayla. Slightly. Well, I don't know. Char, why did you return to Earth? Was it for me? Blush. Jealousy. Open up your eager eyes. To let a younger guy pilot the Gundam while ignoring me. How dare they? Char be creepin'. 'Cause I'm a creep. Yeah. Hey, who's that person wearing the sunglasses? Who's that character? Amuro protects Char. Not the quiet kind of person that you think he is. Deep inside, he's a very kind person. Char let Cats go out. Interesting. I thought it was to try to awaken him. During the battle, I thought it might have been to have him as a distraction. At the end, I thought it was all for Amuro. I think Char was trying to get Amuro riled up by putting Cats and Camille out there in danger. That way, he'd join the battle even if it was just to protect the two. I like the blonde girl. The glimpse of blonde hair through her helmet when she landed made me hope it was Say Love Me Too. That scene was one of my favorites in this episode. She thought for a second that Amuro was just like the rest, battle hungry. That wasn't the case though. She found out that Amuro was afraid of battle. She has to be a new type. I don't know. Bam, and she sees the truth of him. Today's battle was my favorite so far. Loved having the enemy's POV as she tries to figure out the plan that was put into place to defeat her. She changed all my opinions on why Char let Cats out. She gave me Lala vibes for a second here, which I think is intentional. Getting those from, yeah. Yep, as we get that big flow and, whoa, onnada. Camille and Char were on point in the battle while Cats learned a very valuable lesson. He looked shocked, but quickly agreed. I was pretty surprised there. The Camille we first met would have probably gotten very angry and would not have agreed. I believe in Cats. He'll get better in no time. Beltorchica is not really likable. Well, I clearly remembered her being awful. Still is. She is awful, gets slightly better later, but that's more them not showing her flaws than actual developments. Interesting. There are parts of Beltorchica that I don't like too, but, you know, Rosamiya is a little, crazy. Yep. I'm just gonna skip this. What a fucking god. What is that? Oh, the image is removed. I don't even know what he's referring to. Sad. Yeah, probably probably Onada, Camille. Hayato, let Amuro pilot. He's a new type. He can probably beat everyone with his eyes closed. I don't know about that. You don't want to put that much faith in him. But you should let him pilot. Well, one of the characters I have the most mixed feelings about, Beltorchica. Great. And I'm really looking forward to more Beltorchica. And from there, so that's 15. Let's do 15 comments here. From my comments section. And I'll be right back. Yoser. Hi. Get the fuck out. Okay. Rosamiya being unable to understand what is going inside the Mark II, it ties in well with how Cats and Char are misunderstanding what was going on inside the Gundam during the 1-year war. Cats was still a child back then, and those memories of the heroic Gundam going out to defeat the bad guys have clearly become a rosy retrospection in the following years. Being raised by Hayato must have also played a role in this, since Hayato was the worst pilot on White Base. If Hayato has become the leader of Karaba, of course Amuro must now be something even greater than that. For Char, the Gundam was an invincible rival who always came to challenge him. They only met face to face twice, and the first time, Char didn't even know who Amuro was. Char and Amuro understand each other in ways that no one else can, primarily because of their shared trauma related to Lala, but because of this understanding, Char believes Amuro to be just like him when that is not true at all. Char loved being the Red Comet, so much so that he has created another fake identity which allows him to still enjoy being an ace pilot, whereas Amuro never enjoyed piloting the Gundam. He had to do it, and it cost him his home, his family, and it isolated him from everyone around him. And as thanks for his efforts, he was put on house arrest for 7 years living with his traumas. Just stuck and into more stuck. His heroism is rewarded with prison. The echoes of the 1-year war are present elsewhere in this episode as well, with Rosamiya and Beltorchica being traumatized by witnessing the colony drop that was shown in the beginning of every episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, and San Francisco being just an empty crater. Even Lala's spirit is apparently still around. The Titans were comparing the Aeug to Zeon since episode 1, so Rosamiya being afraid of the Aeug doing another colony drop like Zeon makes sense. I like, Board Burrito says, I like how we now have Amuro Cats' relationship in contrast with Char Camille's. They're both student-mentor relationships and are kinda unhealthy in their own ways. There are issues with the tough love mentality Char uses to push Camille forward, but he's ultimately interested in their development. Amuro can't even do that for Cats. He's a messy bundle of war trauma further exacerbated by other people's expectations of him for being the hero. I hope something specific comes out of this parallel. Also, on the note of Lala's spirit still being out there, I hope they don't mean literally. They might. My dream of the sky falling. This person's scared of fighting like I'm scared of the sky falling. In the beginning of OG Gundam, the intro narration explaining the current situation of the 1-year war, a colony is shown falling on a city. A future where California is wiped out sounds like a good future. Ooh. 2-for-1 bargain sale on bargain bin versions of blonde characters. Buy one Not Jared and you get a free Not Sayla. Hey, fuck off. She's not a Not Sayla. Sayla's way better than Beltorchica. No, I kid. I think lots of people like Beltorchica at first, so it's not surprising. Can't wait to see if he comes around to the general consensus. Also expecting Beltorchica to be Sayla is fairly normal and an intentional mislead. That's why Kamui remarks that it's a beautiful replica. Well, we'll see. And El Schnitzer writes, speedy comment. Thanks, Schnitzer. Always appreciated. Very few comments on this one for episode 15. I wonder why that is. And I already did this from the rewatch thread. And so we go on to 16. Through the haze of darkness. Suspend pursuit if the enemy manages to fly over the Pacific, but he refuses to give in, desiring all the credit for taking down the crew. Beltorchica tells them that they plan to use the fog to send at least Quattro and Kamui back into space. Beltorchica comforts him, telling Amuro that she understands the reason for his fears and anxieties, and they share a kiss. Right? That's so small in terms of how complicated that scene is. But that scene is a really interesting depiction of like adult relations working effectively. I remember that now. Okay. Quattro appears and tells Amuro that he should join the Aeug in space, but Amuro is still traumatized by his involvement in the death of Lala and cannot bring himself to return to space. Hayato gives permission to for Cats to join Quattro and Kamui on the shuttle. They get ready to reach Hikari. After seeing Amuro liven up, Cats decides to go with him in the Rick Diaz. All of them take off and the operation begins. Buran launches an attack. They're both trying to diverge the attention from the space shuttle where the Hyakushiki is being loaded. Amuro vows to defend the shuttle as Cats forces Quattro at gunpoint to board the shuttle and not lose any more time, as he and his Hyakushiki are both extremely important to the Aeug. Enveloped by the thick haze, Kamui and Buran are locked in a final combat. However, the Ashmore has the clear advantage in a mid-air fight over the Mark II. Convinced that his time has finally come, an image of Fa Yuri appears before Kamui, moments before he is saved by Amuro, who deals the finishing blow that finally puts Buran down for good. The space shuttle safely launches, and a tearful Beltorchica hugs Amuro. Both she and Kamui know that Amuro Ray has now awakened. Hikari's staff give Hayato a letter from Kai Shiden, telling him that they should seek assistance from Luio and company in Hong Kong. Watching Beltorchica in Amuro's arms, Kamui's gaze reaches the sky, as he wonders if Fa is okay. Great. So we haven't fully returned to space yet. And that's 15, right? No, that's 16, sorry. So 16, Reddit thread. Amuro flies again for real. Beltorchica gets him fighting again through really sudden and unexpected romantic development. Geez, first Sliger Law and Mirai, now this. Ever heard of building up a relationship between characters? It can be done in only a couple of episodes, too. I bought Kai and Miharu as a great pair, and they only briefly knew each other. I fully buy Beltorchica and Amuro. I don't not buy that at all. And I buy it from the perspective that Tomino presents about women. And he presents this perspective of women, like, being most effectively identified in their relationship to men, mostly. And so Beltorchica organizes herself around Amuro in a lot of ways in order to assist him. She recognizes and has empathy for him and realizes in the story's circumstances that what he needs is her, something to awaken him. You know, the attempts to put Cats into danger, whether those were intentional or not, didn't really work. A bunch of other things didn't really work, but it seems like Beltorchica was capable of making it work. But as Beltorchica says, he's now a man of war again, even as he was trying hard not to be. Char's the one who loves war, not Amuro. Lala's spirit is still around. Odd. Also, Cats unknowingly threatening Char with a gun that still had the safety on, and Char knew the safety was on, is the best. Very cool. I forgot just how sad it was to see Amuro go back to fighting. You can tell his private life is in shambles. He has no identity to cling to, and is basically a wealthy vagrant due to being a war hero, and now he realizes war is basically all he has. A kiss already? Beltorchica is dying this episode. That's fast. Oh, she actually gets a kiss back. She dead. Well, color me surprised. Beltorchica survived. Yep. Beltorchica's ship got hit, but Amuro actually saves her. Yeah. Romance department is not Tomina's strong point, but this time for me, Beltorchika and Amuro development didn't feel too awkward. Beltorchika nicely fits Amuro's weaknesses, and seeing this, I now see Frau Bo doesn't work for him. Frau certainly can't be a romantic interest for him. She's too close and too friendly for him, this we can't rely on. A lot of people have interesting perspectives on that. And then, so, here we are. We're heading into Hong Kong City, Mirai captured. Gosh. Cinderella 4. The heated escape. And then into a sign of Zeta. Right? So this is the next chunk of arc. Because we go to another place and we do another thing and we move on from there. So, how long did this take? Did this take what? I haven't looked at the thing. An hour and a half? An hour and 16 minutes. That's not bad at all. Great. So we tore through 8 episodes this time. Took us about half the time that it took the last time in comparison, right? Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. This is just figuring it out, right? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, guys. I want to be clear. Like Camus in the pilot's chair, like Amuro before him. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Welcome to my mecha. My dad gave it to me, I guess, and I built parts of it, I guess, and now I'm at war and I gotta fight against something for some reason, because if I don't do it, I'm gonna die. And I guess, you know, the Hound of the Red Comet is after me, and that's like death and starvation and shit. And my way through it is knowledge and understanding, I hope. And so that's what I'm seeking as I do this process. And I'm going to go through it in these chunks. We're going to go through all the fucking Gundam, and we're going to make it all the way to the end. And I hope that this has been useful, and I don't know if it's been useful, but I'm trying to make it useful. It's been useful to me, who definitely came to some conclusions about the way that things stack up in this episode. The way that Camus gets violently corrected, and then the way that that turns into his attempts to correct Char. Those are going to resonate in my brain for a little bit, and I don't know whether I'll have new ideas about them in a few days or a week or whenever I do the next one of these, but I hope that I do, and as we move on toward Camus' own interactions with the feminine via Cinderella 4, and can compare those to Amuro's interactions with the feminine via Beltorchika, and with the ways that all of these different things are going, I'm excited. I'm excited to continue moving through this story at our hyper speed that we're going through it as we slow asymptotically up to where we're actually at in the story and then move on from there. For now, I have 2 videos that I have to edit today. I have to edit last night's Mushoku Tensei reaction, which is going to be hard, and it's going to take a long time because there are lots of little cuts and fucked up things in it. And I have to edit this video now, which is also going to be hard because I have to go through it and make sure that I don't say anything utterly ridiculous. But I think mostly it'll be good. In fact, I think there will be very little that I have to cut out, so I look forward to that. But it will be hard to reparse through this. But overall, there it is. Today's a day that I did not want to record today. I really didn't want to record today, and I can't express this enough to you. Today is another one of those days where in previous days I've gone, you know what, it's a much better idea if I don't record today, and I'm not wrong in saying that. I would be able to do this much better if I were in a better state mentally, if I had slept better last night, if all my schedule were aligned, but that's not the way the world works. The world hits you when you're down, not when you're set up and ready. It hits you when you've got your back turned and when you're not ready. And so if I want to be prepared for everything that the world can throw at me, I have to be prepared to fight, because this is fighting. This is war against myself and my laziness. I have to be prepared to fight when I least want to fight. And so this is the battle. 1 battle, 1 week, 1 episode, 1 little battle, 1 big war. We're winning the whole war, and we're going to win all the battles, too. Let's go. If you enjoyed this content, please consider supporting the content. Please consider supporting the content on the Patreon. It's linked in the description. $1 goes an incredibly long way. Like an incredibly long way. And I'm putting my all into this shit. Even if you think that there could be more, I'm putting my all into it now, man. Right there. So, I'd love a little bit of return. That would be really, really nice. It'd be really, really good to prove myself right that by putting as much effort as I can into the things that I think matter, people who also think that those things matter will see the attention and intent and value that I'm putting into them and will decide to support me. If you cannot or do not want to support financially, please like the video, comment on the video. It really helps with the algorithm in a lot of ways. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I want to mention something. As we hit that point where I removed early access, my channel's monthly subscribers, new monthly subscribers, had been in decline. In decline. In the past month, they've gone like this again, and we're on an upward path, baby. We're way up in subscribers now. The Patreon was going down, and it's leveled out. The subscribers on the YouTube channel are going up, and that's where we're going, baby. Straight to the fucking heavens, all the way up. Drill in my hand, piercing through. Sorry to use weird metaphors, but it's the way that I think about this. So, please be a part of it. Come join us in the Discord. It'll cost you $1 one time, essentially. Monthly would be better for me, but $1 for you one time to come join the Discord and be there forever. Pretty good deal. Come join the white base that I'm building, in a weird way. The Argama that I'm building, in a weird way. The community that I'm trying to foster around myself and around this terrible love for this excellent medium. This incredible thing called anime that's been here amongst us for 40 fucking years in its most modern form. And we've got 40 years of some of the greatest art pieces ever put to screen or film or cell or paper. And we get to go through them. Grateful. Utterly grateful. And grateful to all of you who decide to go through them with me captaining the ship. Because I really appreciate y'all. See you next week for more. We're going to keep doing this until we're done. See you next week for more. Peace.